Thank you very much. Welcome to my presentation or my explanation platform. My name is Josephut. Feel free, you're welcome. I will be explaining the topic or the concept density and density of different material. One may ask him or herself, what is a density? And for sure, at the end of this presentation, you will know what is a density. You will be able to calculate or to determine different or density of different types of materials. You will know what are factors which contributes to varying density of various materials, although they are of the same volume. That will be explained further. Just sit there for some few minutes, and hopefully you will learn a thing or two. Now, one may ask, what is a density? A density, it is the amount of matter an object has to its volume. The amount of matter an object has to its volume. Okay, now densities of an object, they are varying their difference. What causes the difference of the density? It is because of the amount of matter in that particular material. Even if two different materials have the same volume, but if the materials, the amount of matter that make up that particular uh, substance, object, or material is different, therefore we will have difference in the density. The density will not be the same. Now let me give a very simple example before I go any further. There is this bread that we buy at Shoprite, Pick and Pay, a yellow bread, loaf of bread with the raisins, and let us compare that very bread, the density, to the other bread that we buy at this other shop, just a plain whole bread without slices. That light one, we normally call it fagumoya. Yeah, that one. Now, if we can try to determine the density of the two objects, the two breads of the same volume, they are different. Why? Because the amount of matter that make up the two breads are not the same. The quantity of matter is different. Now, some of the matter or the particles that make the bread, they are loose. In some, they are very closely packed. Now, that is what bring about the difference in the density of a material or a substance. Now, here on the table, I have three materials in of the same volume in a cup that we will be demonstrating using these two or three materials. I have the sand on my left. I have the sugar here, the sugar in a glass, and also I do have what? Water. I also do have water. Now it's okay. Now different materials of, or there are ways before we go any further. There are two ways in which we can use to compare or to determine the density of material or of a substance. Firstly, we can use calculation. Secondly, we can weigh or use our hands to compare the density of the materials of the same volume. Note before, when you compare the density of two different materials, they should be of the same volume. Okay. Now, firstly, to calculate, the first one is calculation. To calculate the density is equals to the amount of matter or mass over volume, mass in grams, and the volume in mils, in milliliter. Now, if we have, I'm giving an example now. If we have this glass of water containing 300 mils, 300 milliliter of water, or let's say it is the object has the mass of 500 gram and the volume of 100 gram. Now, to calculate the density of this particular material, we will take the 500 gram, we divide by 100 milliliter, and then we will get 5 grams per milliliter. That will be the density when you calculate. But again, with these materials in front of me, the glasses which contain different materials, this one we are going to compare the density of these materials of different substances, but then we are going to compare them by weighing them. We are going to weigh them and see. Okay, the water in the glass, the sand as well in the glass, they are of the same volume. As you can see, even the sugar to the sand is the same volume. Even the sugar to water, it is the same volume. Okay, now we have the similar volumes of this substance, but then are we going to have the same density? We don't know, but we'll compare. Now, uh, we are going to lift each one, hold them high, and actually we can say, let's say that the one which is too heavier than the other one, it is of high density. The one with the lesser weight is of lesser density. If you compare water to the sand, water is less dense compared to the sand. Sand is high dense. Now, when I compare the sugar to the sand, the sugar is less dense. When I compare, I mean the sugar to the sand. The brown sugar is less dense compared to the sand. And then when I compare again the density of sugar to the density of water, it shows that this water is very light compared to the sugar, which shows that the amount of matter in water is very less to the very same volume compared to the amount of matter that make up sugar. Okay, thank you. Now, which shows that the one with more amount of matter that make up the object, or an object with more amount of matter or of particles within that make up this particular object, it has, of with the same volume, it shows that it has high density. In this case, in the case of sand and in the case of sugar, it shows that the sand is high dense than sugar. I hope you're with me. Thank you very much. Okay, again, let me put them far. I have two glasses again. I don't know if it is very clear. As you can see. Yes. I have two glasses with me. The glass on my left here in is water, and then the glass on my right contains oil. This is cooking oil, sunflower oil. Now I'm going to compare the two materials. Comparing the two materials to see which of the two has higher density or less density. Now, the one with less density, when we mix oil and water, between these two, the one with less density will float and the one with higher density will be at the bottom. Okay, this I don't know whether it is clear, but I can see it's not clear the difference whether this is oil, whether this is oil, water on the video. I don't see whether there is the difference. It's okay. On my right I have oil, on my left I have water, and of the same volume, as you can see. I want us to mix these two. I don't know which we can take water and pour it into the oil glass, or we can take the oil glass and put it into water. Anyway, it will be fine. But let me take water. You are with me. Let me take water and I pour it in the oil. We observe and see what is happening. An object with less density, it will float. According to this, what we see to the observation, the water is below and the oil does float, which means that the particles, the amount of particles that make up water, they are high compared to the amount of particles that make up oil. At the same time, it shows that the substance with a less dense with less density, it floats. In our case, the oil float. Thank you very much. I hope you understand the density. I hope you know how to calculate the density. I hope someone watching this will also know how to differentiate the density of different materials. Thank you very much, ma'am. Your comments are will be very much appreciated, and corrections and additions. It will help me develop and learn as well. Thank you. Enjoy.